Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV. Welcome to our third and final dispatch from CES 2020. It's been an exhausting trip, but it's been a lot of fun as always. We are at the main Las Vegas Convention Center now, where most of the big brands are exhibiting, and we're going to walk around and see what we can find here that's of interest. A little bit earlier though, we stopped over at the Lenovo Suite and took a look at some of their computers and other things that they're releasing a little later this year. Let's take a look at that. So we stopped off here at Lenovo Suite, which is very nice and quiet, so I can get my hands free without that big microphone. And I think a lot of you have been asking me about this thing, whatever it is. This is the X1 Fold, and I'm going to have Sarah get a little bit closer here to show you what this is. This is a Windows PC with a foldable screen. Look at that. And you can get a 13-inch display here, along with a keyboard that attaches magnetically. And it's got a little kickstand here in the back, so you can just set it up here on the table and do your computing if you want. It's got a trackpad here that clicks, and you can type on the keyboard. It's very thin. There is no backlighting on this, but given the compact size here, I think it works pretty well. They were showing me earlier a couple of different configurations that you can run it in, so you can have the screen kind of working like so, and type on the display if you want. And when you're ready to get on the road again, you just fold it up and you're off and running. This is a foldable OLED display. What you're going to see in the middle is not a crease, but just an area where it folds. But I'm finding when I'm looking at it dead on, you don't see it. But if you have it angled, you'll occasionally see a little bit of the fold there, but it's not a crease. Now the bezel here is silicon, and they designed it to stretch as it opens up. And as you know, Lenovo's got a lot of crazy hinge designs on some of the other laptops that we've looked at. And this one certainly had to have a lot of engineering behind it to make it work. But overall, it seems like it's working really nicely. Now, it's powered by an Intel Core processor with hybrid technology. I don't think I've seen one of those yet, so we'll have to see exactly what performance we get out of it. But it's, again, very compact and foldable. And what's really cool about this keyboard, check this out, it's got magnets on it. So when you get it in the right spot here, it just kind of locks onto the casing, and then you can fold it up, and you've got yourself a little folio to carry around. The package here is 2.2 pounds. So it's got some girth to it, or weight, but it feels good. Like it feels like it should feel, so that's nice. Because this is a ThinkPad device, it's executive in quality, so you've got a leather, real leather case on it as well. And here's the other thing that you all might find of interest. It's got some USB-C ports on it, two of them, one here and the other one down here. And these are full service ports for power, display, and data. So you could even dock this when you get back to the office. So you're not going to be playing a lot of games on it, but it is very good for traveling, especially for people that are always walking around the different offices. You can grab your computer, put the keyboard in, fold it up, and you're ready to go. So I am eager to check this out because it's certainly new and different. And we don't see a lot of new and different these days on PCs. This one really is quite good at doing what it's supposed to do here. So we'll get it in hopefully at some point and take a little bit of a closer look at it. $2,499 to start. Always new technology, costs a little bit more, which is why they're kind of focused on the business market at the moment, but it should be out later this year. So here's something I know that a lot of you Chromebook fans will like. This is the Ideapad Duet. It is a 10-inch Chromebook tablet. It's got a nice little integrated case here with a kickstand and keyboard. You can, of course, detach it completely from it if you want. And there you go. You've got your Chrome tablet. You can run your Android apps on it and stuff. And then the keyboard here will magnetically attach, and it will get you going back there again. You can just reattach everything or fold it up and head out on the road with it. It's got a nice fabric case here on the back. This is a pre-production unit, so not everything is lining up as tightly, I think, as the shipping one will. But overall, I'm really quite happy with what they're putting together here on the Chromebook side. This is powered by a MediaTek processor. It's the Helio P60T. So it should last a while from a battery life perspective. And what I love about these Chromebooks now is that you can get Linux stuff running on them. You've got the Android and all of the Chrome OS features. And to get something in this form factor, I think is going to be a fun product to explore. The price point on this is going to be very reasonable when it comes out. $279, and that's the whole package. The tablet, keyboard, the case, all of it. $279 out the door, should be coming out around the springtime. Now another new item at the show is their 740S gaming laptop. Now the 740, which I just bought 2 weeks ago, is not being replaced here. This is a supplement to it. And what I liked about the 740 is that it's very thin and light, yet you get a lot of horsepower. This one's even thinner. And the reason is that it doesn't have a discrete GPU inside. It has a 9th generation Intel processor. And what they're intending to do with this 740S is integrate it with eGPUs, and it just so happens they have their own enclosure for that to do all of the eGPUs that you'll want to do. So this is the boost station, Thunderbolt 3 eGPU enclosure. It's $279, which is very reasonable, and it's standard Thunderbolt 3, so even if you don't have a Lenovo laptop to hook it up to, it should work with any Thunderbolt-equipped PC that can handle eGPUs. You can put whatever you want inside of it. It's got a 500-watt power supply, and it provides power delivery back to your host device, up to 100 watts over the single cable. And there's also some additional port replication like Ethernet and USB ports. So a dock with an eGPU, and you just have to supply your own GPU to the mix to make it all work. So that's a pretty cool thing. We'll try to get one of these in. It's pretty easy to get into it also. I'm reluctant to break their stuff in here, but there's a little handle here. You just pull it back and you're in. This is their new gaming monitor. It is a 240 hertz IPS. You can often see IPS monitors at that refresh rate, and this is the Legion Y2525, and it's a 24.5-inch display, 1080p, again at 244 hertz. It's got FreeSync technology built in as well. And they've got a new keyboard here. This is a silent gaming keyboard, RGB. Pretty cool looking stuff there. I'll check my little cheat sheet here. This one's going to sell for 50 bucks. Most of this will be out by the midpoint of the year, kind of like the May-June timeframe. So we'll be, of course, getting a lot of this stuff into review on the channel. Now, also new at the show, by the way, Lenovo has a lot of new products every year, which is why I like visiting them. We have the Yoga Slim 14 and 15. The 15-inch version will have some NVIDIA graphics options along with the 10th generation Intel chips, so that might be something to look at if you want something a little bit larger. This one really interested me. This is the Slim 14-inch AMD. It's got the Ryzen 9 4900U on board. Really nice and compact here. It's one of the Yogas with the nice hinge design on it. And get this, the price is $849. It'll be available in April. And I'm really eager to see how the AMD graphics on these new chips match up with the new Intel Iris graphics. We've got a bit of a good battle brewing finally on integrated graphics, and this might be a fun one to get when it comes out. If you are into ARM-based Windows devices, they are coming back again. This is the Yoga 5G, and as its name implies, it is a 5G always connected laptop running with a Qualcomm ARM Snapdragon processor, 8 gigs of RAM, 14-inch display. You can get it configured with 256 gigs or 512 of storage. It's got the Qualcomm Adreno 680, and it's about 1,500 bucks and will be out in the spring. So Lenovo has a partnership with NEC, and they've got another brand they've created together called Lavie, and there are 3 products that they're introducing. These are Japanese engineered computers. NEC in Japan remains the biggest computer maker, and they haven't sold many computers here in the US, so they're trying to test the market a bit here to see what's out there. So this is an all-in-one. This is a 27-inch all-in-one. They've got a bunch of different configuration options available. The unique feature of this is that the speakers are integrated into the back of the display. So sound comes from the front here without a sound bar or anything else. Sounds pretty good, actually. Nice design there. This is a 15.6-inch laptop with a 4K OLED display. We don't see a lot of OLED displays on laptops, and if you're doing a lot of design work or something where you really want a good deep contrast ratio, these are certainly something to take a look at. It's a bit larger though, as you can see, but still pretty neat. Now they're also talking about its durability, and we're going to do something with this ball here and the top of the display in a minute, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. We're hoping not to repeat the Cybertruck thing, but we'll see what happens. Now, over here is something that I was really intrigued with the other night when I saw it. This is their Lavie Pro Mobile, super lightweight. And it's amazing when you pull out like maybe a fraction of an ounce, how it really feels different in the hand. So when you pick this up, it really feels super lightweight, almost like there's nothing in it. It's got an i7 U-series processor inside. So it's a regular laptop processor. It has active cooling. But if you're looking for something really thin and light, this is the way to go. It is 1.8320 pounds according to the scale here. It's pretty lightweight. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take the new laptop here and put it on the floor. This is Gorilla Glass 6, they tell me, and they've been dropping this ball on it all week. So we're going to drop the ball here from this height, and what I'm going to do here is, just so you can see the height, I'm going to have Sarah focus in on the laptop, and we're going to drop the ball here and see what happens. 3, 2, 1. And it looks like it's okay. Let's take a closer look. All right, as you can see, It's no worse for wear, so it's pretty rugged there. This one is going to start at around $2,099. The 2-in-1 here will start at around $1,799, and the lightweight laptop here is $1,599, all in the spring time frame. Now, Lenovo always likes to experiment with different kinds of products, and we've seen in the past they had a little laptop with an integrated e-ink display. This is a larger laptop with an integrated e-ink display. This is called the ThinkBook Plus, and if you open it up, it's a laptop. Looks pretty normal there, running with your usual Intel processors and everything. But when you close it, you have the e-ink display here, and if you don't put the computer to sleep, you can do stuff on here like check your calendar. So if you're an executive and you want to see what's coming up next, you don't have to open the laptop up. It'll just have that available to you there. If you're worried about security, if you put it to sleep completely by pushing the button on the side, it shuts off and there's nothing going on. What's nice about e-ink displays is that they don't constantly refresh, so the only time it consumes power is when it's actually getting the image put together on screen. They also have a note-taking option, so it's got the integrated pen here. And so if you're in a meeting and you just want to jot down a quick note, rather than opening up the laptop, you can push the top of the pen here and start writing. And this will sync up, or actually download to, your OneNote application on the Windows side, so you can download those notes later and make use of them. But pretty cool stuff. Nice response here on the stylus, and again, all e-ink, but integrated into a regular laptop. Now, another thing they integrated with the ThinkBook Plus is this charging pad. This may or may not come out. It's kind of an experimental product, but on the bottom of the computer here, there's these little pogo plugs, and this is a contact charger, so if you put it down here on its little base, it'll start charging. There's no display going out, it's simply for charging, but just kind of an experimental thing they're playing around with, so you can put the laptop down on its little stand there, charge it, and not have to deal with it after the fact. So the laptop here, without the charging thing, is going to be about $1,200, and again, we're looking at a spring release on this one. Now, the last thing they wanted to show us is this new product. This is the Lenovo Smart Frame. And it's often hard to convey what one of these things looks like through video, but I can tell you that it really looks like a printed photograph from where we've been sitting. They had, one of the things they were displaying here was a painting, and you could almost touch it. It really felt like that real there. As you can see, as I'm running my hand back and forth here, it supports some gesture controls so you can change the photos. I'm sure you could probably set it up in a slideshow routine if you want. It's an IPS display, and the sensor down here will adjust the color temperature to match the lighting in the room, which is why it looks as nice as it does, because it really looks like the way everything else in your room looks and not some big glaring display. We've seen that on a few other products, and it's nice to see it in a larger one here. This is, I believe, 21.5 inches IPS. Pretty decent viewing angle. If you come off to the side here, that's when you start to see the difference between this and a real printed photograph, perhaps. You'll lose a little bit of that image quality on the angle, but really, looking at it straight on, it's pretty nice. Now, if you are not a fan of the frame, you can replace it with your own. So you can bring it to a frame shop and have them make you a custom frame for it. I would demo that, but I would likely make a real mess in doing so. And then the way it mounts is pretty interesting too, because they have this magnetic mount that you put on the wall. It's got a leveler built in here. You can coil the wire up and keep it out of sight. And if you ever need to take it down, you don't have to take it off the wall with screwdrivers and stuff. You just attach it magnetically and do what you need to do and then put it back up. But of course, photos can get loaded onto this thing through the internet via your Wi-Fi connection. So pretty neat product here. It can also work in landscape. They have another mode where you can have 3 of them in a room and have wider photos kind of displayed, each portion on each display as well. Lots of things that you might be able to do with this, kind of a stocking stuffer thing. $399, and this should be out a little bit later soon as well. So we have looked at a ton of stuff here at the Lenovo display. They always have just a lot of things to look at, which is great to see here at a show when you really want to find a lot of new stuff. So let me know what you thought of this down in the comment stream. By the way, Lenovo is an occasional sponsor here on the channel. They're not sponsoring us for this trip, but we do need to disclose that, and we'll be getting a lot of this stuff in for reviews soon. So let's go now hit the show floor where it's a lot more noisier for one last day. So we always like to stop by Razer, primarily because they're right by the entrance, and when I walked up, I saw another device that can work with your Android smartphone to provide game controller connectivity. This is called the Kishi, and if you remember, we looked at the Jungle Cat a little while ago, and I had a few issues with it. The big one being that it only worked with 3 different phones because it had to have a special case to operate. This one doesn't. It's universal. It plugs in via USB-C right now, and any Android phone that supports USB-C will work with this. So direct connection, no Bluetooth. We'll have to test to see how securely it attaches to the phone, but I think that's a nice improvement. No release date or price point yet, but when it comes out, we'll probably get one and try it out. They also said they're working on trying to get iOS compatibility a little bit later. Now, behind it here, behind that little trusted reviews sign there, there's a new router that they're coming out with called the Razer Sila 5G home router, and they're telling me that this will connect to 5G cellular networks. So if you wanted to really cut the cord when you got that 5G tower out your window, you could use this to route your internet traffic. They didn't have a lot of details on this nor a price, but it's something we'll keep an eye on, and maybe I'll get 5G outside my house and I can finally upload my YouTube videos faster. So this is the MyArcade booth, and with these little arcade machines getting more popular, they've got a couple more that are coming out. This one in the middle here is a Street Fighter II cabinet. It's got all the buttons there. Unfortunately, they can't stop that thing from moving, so we have to wait for it to come back around again. But as you can see here, it's got all the buttons that you're looking for. And it can also be linked up with other cabinets, so you can play a two-player game, each of you running on your own one, just like the old Game Boy. So that's kind of a neat thing. $49, it's coming up later this year. Behind it is Contra, out over there in the corner. And once it comes back around, you can get a look at that one. What they're doing here is the vertical screen. I think they call that Tate mode, I guess. And you've got all the controls from the original Contra. This, though, is the arcade version of Contra, not the NES one, so be prepared for that. And then over here is Space Invaders. And what's neat about this one, and it might be hard to show on camera, is that they've recessed the display kind of back into the cabinet like the original ones. So kind of a neat little way to have a somewhat authentic little arcade experience on something a lot smaller than the original. And we're seeing a lot more of these things coming out. All right, so we're over at the Arcade1Up booth, and they've got a huge NBA Jam, and Sarah can zoom out here and show you how big that thing is. Now, that's not for sale, but they do have apparently some cabinets on the floor. We're going to go take a look at that now. So this is the one that you can actually buy. This is their NBA Jam Cabinet. It looks like it is a 4-player cabinet. You've got all their joysticks here. What's been nice about these is they've been improving the quality as they have been developing new versions of these cabinets. Now, of course, these are smaller than the originals, and when you buy them, they're actually shorter than they are right now. So this actually isn't a bad height for me, but if you're really tall, it might be an issue. What they do, though, to get it up to this height is they sell, and Sarah can pan down a little bit here, a little stand, a little riser that it can sit on to kind of bring it up a little bit higher. But I think what's nice about these is that they're not too big for homes where there's limited space and you can relive all of your arcade victories and whatnot on these cabinets. Now, this has multiple games on it. So you have the original NBA Jam, you have the NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and the newer game in that mix, NBA Hang Time. I used to play that one quite a bit on my Dreamcast. So like the others, they have multiple games, and really cool to get all your friends around this with a nice 4-player control surface here. Now, last year they came out with the Star Wars cabinet, which was really a big hit with me when I was a kid in the 80s here. They did a nice job kind of replicating the original controller. It's got a good heavy feel to it also. They really captured what I remembered it playing like. I got to get one of these for the house. Now, they are coming up with a new version of Star Wars, same game, but it's a sit-down cabinet, and you've got a pull-out chair here. And they had one of these sit-down things back in the day, so you can replicate that. And I think, to be honest, this kind of works a little better if you're taller, maybe, because you can sit down to play and get a mini arcade experience in probably a more comfortable manner than leaning over something if you're too tall. Again, these come with multiple games: Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. But there's a lot more here too. Let's keep looking. Now, if you like Pac-Man, this is something for you. This is the 40th edition version. It's got a lot of different versions of Pac-Man here, including Pac-Man, Pac-Man Plus, Pac-and-Pal, a few others. Missing, though, is Ms. Pac-Man because of some crazy licensing stuff going on at the moment with that particular game. But it looks like a lot of the other cabinets that they've come up with, and it really looks pretty nice here too. So that's coming up pretty soon. And if you're a fan of BurgerTime, which is one of my favorite arcade games, they've got a nice cabinet here that looks pretty authentic too. So this is another new one coming up. They also have a few other games on this one beyond BurgerTime: Karate Champ, looks like Caveman Ninja, Bad Dudes. So a nice little selection of Data East games here too. Now, they've got some other stuff here that's pretty cool. This is an Atari plug-and-play joystick. Look at the size of this thing. It's got a bunch of Atari games loaded on it, plugs in via HDMI. It's going to cost about $100. They tell me it's not going to wobble around as much in the final version. They're going to weight it a little bit better. This is another version of that. And then they've got a Pac-Man one here too, where you can play Pac-Man with an enormous joystick. I can see this being pretty popular at bars and stuff. So be on the lookout for these, about $100 a piece. So they've got a ton of new stuff here. This is a pinball cabinet. This one is a Star Wars theme. It's got some pretty loud speakers on the front there with a little digital display. Now, it's not actually a mechanical pinball machine. It's got a flat panel here underneath. It's kind of hard to get it on video. We did our best. So this will be something we'll have to check out when it comes out. But this is the Star Wars version over here. And this one is called Attack from Mars. Again, it's hard to shoot these things, but it looks very similar to the Star Wars one, just a different game. And they also told me they have a Sega license cabinet now also. This one has Golden Axe, The Revenge of Death Adder. They don't have the original Golden Axe on here, but they do have a few other games, including Altered Beast, Shinobi, and Wrestle War. And again, this is another 4-player cabinet, similar to the one we saw on the other side. Now, I don't have pricing for any of this stuff just yet, but it looks rather interesting. These are their micro consoles. Looks like they've got an Atari 2600 one here, and you get this little TV with wood grain and an antenna on it, along with these little tiny controllers that go into it. That's kind of a neat little stocking stuffer, I think, for next year. It's crazy crowded in here, so we apologize for the camera knocks there. Now, to the right, that looks like a Commodore 64. A little tiny Commodore 64 monitor and joysticks. And then to the left here, this is the one that I want. I hope they make this one. This is the ColecoVision one. That was my favorite game console from the 80s, complete with the little number pad there too. So that looks really exciting. Now, if you scroll up here, Sarah, they've got some replicas of the old Coleco arcade portables that I'm assuming will run games a little bit more advanced than what ran on these plastic shells back in the day. Those are really popular with collectors. And they've got a couple of these plug-and-play devices too, where you've got a dongle and a wireless controller that goes with it. So every year I hunt down my friends from GPD who make these awesome little portable mini computers. This is their new P2 Max. It costs about $700. It's got a Core M3 processor in it. Larger screen than what we've seen on some of their devices in the past. It is a 2K screen. You've got the integrated trackpad here and decent sized keys, all things considered. But these are really useful computers for people that are in IT and other areas where you want to have a full-blown Windows computer, but you don't want to lug around a big laptop all the time. We've looked at just about all the other ones here on the table in the past, and they really are just experts on trying to get really workable small computers to make sense for folks. This has a touch screen as well, and a webcam too in the little arm here. So hopefully we'll get one in to test it in the near future. So I was walking around the show floor and I found this little backpack here from Targus that's got an integrated Qi charger. And if Sarah gets a little bit closer here, we can show you how this works. So what you do, of course, is just slide your phone in, and it will make contact with the Qi charger here and begin charging. And they have a little light indicator here that will turn from red to blue. It might be hard to see here to indicate that the phone is charging. It's got a good grip on it too, so the phone's not going to slide out on you there, so that's pretty helpful. This is not out yet, but it will be out a little bit later this year. $179 for this one. And they said you can also use whatever battery pack you want, but it comes with a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. So if you have a bigger battery, you just put it in here and just swap out the USB cable and you're good to go. They have a more premium bag here. It's only a little bit more though, $199. What I like about it is that this bottom pocket here is designed for all your cables. So you can put all those cables you walk around with here on the bottom and you're, good to go with that. If you don't want to put the cables in there, you can unzipper this part here and have it connect up with your rollerboard bag. And so this is more of the premium offering, but again, not a big price difference between the two. They tell me also that this is made out of recycled plastic bottles. Not all of it is, because you need to have some fabrics to weave into it, but a good portion of it is recycled materials. So we are at the U.S. Postal Service booth, and believe it or not, they have been at CES every year that I've been coming to the show. And usually they're out here talking about shipping products because there are a lot of consumer electronics that get shipped to customers through the mail. And they have something else this year that I found really intriguing called Informed Address. And what this lets you do is map a physical address to a code. And if somebody wants to mail you something, you just give them your name and your code, and then the Postal Service will deliver it to the address that you assign to your code. And there's a lot of real advantages to this. One, you don't have to give out your address to anybody. All they know is the code. But two, if you're often moving around the country, you can keep the same code and just remap it to different addresses, a lot like a short URL or something along those lines. It's in Northern Virginia right now. They're hoping to roll it out in other parts of the country throughout next year or this year. And it's something that you should definitely keep an eye on because it's secure and it's a way that you can have an address that will follow you for life. So we are visiting the Belkin booth, and we have something here that we saw at IFA that was still under embargo. This is the Soundform Elite. It's a $299 smart speaker, and it's designed by DVLA out of France, who does a lot of high-end speaker systems. They designed it jointly with Belkin. A couple of interesting features to it. One is a Qi charger here on the top, so when you put your phone down and get it positioned properly, it will charge the phone. 10-watt charger, that's what Belkin's bringing to the table here. Really nice sounding speaker too. They've designed it in such a way that the energy from the bass that it's producing doesn't rattle everything. So it doesn't vibrate the phone or the stuff that it's sitting on. A really stable speaker surface. Another cool thing that it's got is Google Home integration. So you can do all of your voice commands with the Google Assistant and have it work as a Google Home as well. So we stopped by the Samsung booth, which is quite larger than the other ones we've been looking at, and we found the new Samsung portable SSD. This is the SSD T7 Touch. No price on this yet, but it's coming out in about 2 weeks. It's different from the old one in that it feels a little thinner. It's still metal. It's got a fingerprint sensor, though, so you can encrypt the drive and unlock it with your fingerprint. That looks pretty slick. They also say it's going to be faster than the prior edition. They're saying about 1 gigabyte per second in both directions. We will test that when it comes out and see if it can achieve that and whether or not it'll throttle and everything else. So stay tuned. I'm sure we'll be getting one of these in soon. Now, I said this was a big booth. Look at the size of this place. This is what you see with Samsung, Sony, and a lot of the other bigger institutions here. They have a lot of money and they spend a lot of money to market themselves at the biggest show of the year here. There are hundreds of people in here. There's multi-levels to this booth. And believe it or not, what they do after the show is over is deconstruct everything and reconstruct it again probably in the following year. This is big money that these companies spend for you to find out all about the things that they're releasing. And yeah, we don't spend too much time over here. Now, you all know I love Chromebooks, and we found a new one from Samsung. This is their Galaxy Chromebook. It is a 2-in-1, so you can flip the screen around and use it as a tablet. Really nice design here, very lightweight metal. It's powered by an Intel processor. We don't have a price point on this yet. They're going to be formally announcing that in February. Another thing of note here is that it has a pen on the side. And what we can do is pop that pen out and start writing with it as well, and it garages itself right on the side of the device. Now, it also has 2 cameras on board. It's got one on the top of the display, but it also has one here, because when you have it in tent mode, you can have that camera pointing backwards. So that is going to wrap up this dispatch, our last dispatch of CES 2020. It has been a long couple of days, let me tell you, because we're going from one thing to the other. What I'm going to be doing probably maybe around Monday or Tuesday of next week is a whole download of the experience. I'm going to show you what's in my bag, because a lot of you were asking about that, what equipment I'm using, but also what it's like to be here at the show and cover it, because I know a lot of you watching might want to try to do this coverage yourself, and I've learned a few things over the last 5 years, and I'm always adjusting based on your feedback and what I'm experiencing here. This year, I definitely saw the need to start planning a little bit further in advance, because it's really getting harder and harder to find really unique and interesting things to show you. We spent probably more time this year walking around finding nothing than we have ever before. So we really have to start getting a little bit smarter about that. So I'm going to tell you all about those things when I do my download episode. If I'm able to, I might even live stream that and take your questions live, and then of course push it out as a recorded video. We still, though, have more stuff for you to see. So we have our sponsorship with ARM. So you may have already seen one of the ads that we've done with them. This is AI technology that is being showcased here at the show. Those are real quick hit videos. We're also going to have an interview with the CEO of Plex, which will be coming up next as well. And I know a lot of you are looking forward to that, so set those notification bells to get going. I also have a big thank you to one of my best friends, Sarah Miner, who was behind the camera all week. Sarah is looking at starting her own tech channel because there's not enough women in this space doing this kind of stuff. And one day soon, hopefully, you might see Sarah and we'll be talking tech, and she's going to take a very different approach to reviewing tech and working with me on that stuff as well. So we're working on getting things going there. She has survived CES, still wanting to do that, so that's a good sign. And hopefully we will get her launched soon, and we'll introduce you all to her and her channel when that comes together. So that's going to wrap us up from the dispatches here, but again, more CES coverage to come. Let me know what you thought also down in the comment stream. If there are things covered or that you wanted me to cover that I didn't cover, there's often a good logistical logistical reason for it, and we'll talk about some of the logistical challenges in that post-mortem on the experience here. So until the next CES, this is Lon Seidman. We, of course, have a lot more content from my basement coming up for you as well. I want to thank you all for watching. Those comments about how much you like the coverage really means a lot to me because it motivates me to go back out and find more stuff for you all. So thanks again for that. Thank you all for everything, and I'm looking forward to seeing what 2020 brings us. Until next time, it's me, Lon Seidman. Thanks for watching. This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold-level supporters, the Four Guys with Quarters podcast, Tom Albrecht, Rajesh, Logic GR, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.